Go! Go! Go, Web, go!
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and we're back at it with another standard deck tech straight out of Spider-Man Early Access, otherwise known as Through the Omen Paths Early Access on MTG Arena. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to it having two different set names, but I digress. This deck is called WEBBY, and the entire deck is built around the web-slinging mechanic, otherwise known as the in-web mechanic on MTG Arena, and the idea is we're getting a ton of power and toughness out onto the battlefield super quick by paying these cheaper in-web costs, but having to return a tapped creature to our hand in order to do it, but we're getting even more value out of doing that because we're returning things to our hand that we can recast and get more out of with their enters the battlefield abilities and things like that. Before we dive into the deck, go over it in detail, and get into the gameplay, I would ask that you kindly like and subscribe. Every single like helps the channel grow so much. It helps me get the video out to more people, and I would appreciate it so much. And if you're new here, definitely subscribe. More content is on the way. We're going to be dropping a new deck tech from Early Access every single day, so look forward to that. And also catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/QuarantineCapricorn, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Now let's break down this deck. Alright, so this is WEBBY, and the entire deck is built around this web-slinging and web mechanic, where we can get these creatures out for way cheaper than we should, get a ton of power and toughness onto the battlefield earlier than we should, but then take advantage of the fact that we have to return tapped creatures to our hand in order to do so. So first of all, we have Boris the Spider Rider, a 4/3 spider human hero for 3 mana, but you can in-web it out for just 2 mana. It has Trample, and whenever you cast it using in-web, he enters with X +1/+1 counters on him, where X is the mana value of the returned creature. So even if you return just a 1-drop with this, it enters as a 5/4 Trampler that only costs you 2 mana, and potentially sets you up to replay that 1-drop that you could maybe get extra value out of, which is kind of nuts in and of itself. Getting this out as early as turn 2 with that much power pressing in with Trample is just absolutely nuts. We've also got 3 copies of 𝑦𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒, which is a 3/3 for 3 mana, but it in-webs out for just 1 white. So as long as we can return a tapped creature to our hand, we get a 3/3 for 1 white mana, which is way above rate and kind of nuts, even without the ability. But then we also have her ability here where you look at an opponent's hand, choose a card type other than creature, and spells of the chosen type cost 1 more to cast. Now you do need to be careful because that's going to count for you as well, so you don't want to name like enchantments usually, because we do have a good number of enchantments in this deck, so just be careful when you're naming that card type. We've also got 3 copies of Eleni Brood Recruiter, which is a 3/5 for 4, but you can in-web it out for just 3, which is pretty efficient. But then its abilities are where it gets kind of crazy. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human citizen creature token, you can also just pay 5 mana into this to buff up your whole team by +2/+2 and have everything gain vigilance until end of turn. So when you're ready to alpha strike, you just have this mana sink where you could just go ham and probably kill your opponent. But more notably, that 1/1 token ability is super good in this deck because we're constantly in-webbing creatures back to our hand, which means pound for pound, we're casting way more creatures in this deck than we would be in another deck, because we're constantly bringing them back to our hand and setting up the ability to recast them, which means we get even more out of this ability, which gives us even more 1/1 tokens, which is amazing. The last one that we're playing here is probably the least important of the 4, but still a really good card for the deck. This is Alessos and Prass, a 4/4 for 5 mana, but in-webs out for only 3, which is already almost on rate, getting a 4/4 for 3. But then to make it even better, whenever you cast a creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, and it gains flying until end of turn. So since you're constantly in-webbing creatures back to your hand and replaying them, you're able to spit out way more +1/+1 counters, and also set a bunch of your creatures up with flying to just alpha strike in and win out of nowhere, which can be absolutely nuts. Now, going back to the bottom of the curve, we have 4 Llanowar Elves, which is absolutely nuts for enabling and web super early. You can play it on 1, tap it for a mana on turn 2, and then immediately play a 3 mana and web cost, bouncing the Llanowar Elves themselves, and get a 3 mana and web cost creature on turn 2. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. You could also just play something with an in web cost of 2, like the Boris, and then replay the Llanowar Elves right away if you need to. This card's just going to ramp us. It's going to set us up within web. It taps itself down so that we don't have to risk swinging in with combat to set up something for an in web cost. Everything about it is perfect for this deck. But we're also running 4 copies of Gene Pollinator. This can also tap itself to generate a mana, this time of any color, which helps in the same ways Llanowar Elves does. But with Gene Pollinator, we're also able to tap down another untapped permanent we control. So if there's something specific we want to return to our hand to recast to get more value when we recast it, because of like an enters the battlefield ability or something like that, we can tap down that other thing for mana and set it up to be webbed back to our hand, which is really nice. Another tap ability that sets us up for web is Warden of the Inner Sky. It's a 1/2, and you can tap 3 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and scry 1. So this is another way for us to tap down certain things that we want to return to our hand so that we can use that to our advantage to pay for those in web costs. Also, when it does have 3 +1/+1 counters on it, it gets Flying and Vigilance, and we can get there a lot quicker by utilizing the counters coming from Alessos and Pras, in addition to the organic counters it puts on itself by tapping things down. But we can also help to get there with Pawpatch Recruit, which we are running 3 copies of. This is another really good 1-drop. We can drop it on 1, start being aggressive right away, and then later on, we can web it back to our hand and replay it by paying for the offspring cost to give us another token copy of the Pawpatch Recruit. In fact, we can just keep webbing the Pawpatch Recruit back to our hand, and every time we replay it, pay for that offspring cost and get another 1/1 token version of it. And those can pile up if we have enough web cards in our hands. So that can be really, really effective if the game is set up to take advantage of it. It's also another way to put a bunch of extra counters on the Warden to turn on its Flying and Vigilance. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, we also have 3 copies of Lumen-Class Frigate, which is another card that can tap down our creatures to set them up for webbing. But also, if we tap something to station this and we get up to even just two or more charge counters, it turns on this Anthem effect for our entire team. And since the main focus of this deck is getting down a ton of power and toughness as early as possible with these cheap web costs, being able to also in the process incidentally buff our whole team +1/+1, with something that we're going to want to use to tap down our stuff to set it up for web anyway, seems really, really good. And then as Lumen-Class Frigate starts to tap down other things each turn to set them up for web, eventually it gets to the 12+ charge counters kind of just incidentally and gives us another big 3/5 flying lifelinking body, which feels a lot of times kind of for free, which is super nice. We've also got 4 copies of Reluctant Role Model, because if we have all of these other cards in the deck that are finding ways to tap down creatures without putting them at risk in combat, it just makes sense to run this guy as well. He's another creature we can tap down without sending into combat and get value from, because if he's tapped during our second main phase, he'll get a +1/+1 counter, or a flying counter, or a lifelink counter. And then he has even more synergies in this deck, since we're running the Pawpatch Recruit and the Alessos and Pras, which spit out +1/+1 counters all over the place. If anything with those +1/+1 counters on it dies while Reluctant Role Model is in play, we'll get to move those counters to whatever we want, which is super, super good. We also have 4 copies of Shelter by Ghosts. Any deck that is a creature deck, primarily an aggressive mid-range deck, this is just the removal of choice. It does everything we want, gets rid of any non-land permanent, buffs up our dude, makes them harder to kill, gives us lifelink, absolutely contributes to damage output. Everything about this is perfect for the deck. We're also running 3 copies of Summon Brynhildr, which is really interesting in the deck because it comes down, and on Chapter 1, it allows us to exile the top card of our library, and we can play it for as long as this card is in play in a turn which we put a lore counter on it. Which means Once we end up playing that card and getting our value off of it, we can then set the Brynhildr up to be enwebbed, tapping it down with one of our tap abilities, or maybe attacking with it, return it to our hand by playing something with enweb, and then replay it to re-trigger that Chapter 1. But more importantly, on Chapter 2, it gives everything haste. So we can essentially set up a recurring loop here where everything constantly has haste, right? We play out the Brynhildr. On the next turn, everything gets haste when Chapter 2 triggers, and then we find a way to tap down the Brynhildr and then enweb it back to our hand by playing like a Boris or something. The Boris is going to come down with haste, and the Brynhildr is going to be back in our hand. Then we can just replay the Brynhildr. The Brynhildr will also come back in with haste, which is kind of crazy. Well, it won't come back in with haste if we already played a creature. Only the first creature we play in a turn gets haste. But the potential is there. If we don't have anything else, we can at least return this. Well, no, we'd be playing a creature no matter what if we return the Brynhildr. So whatever we play as the creature within Web is always going to get the haste. Back up just a second. I think it's still super valuable to return because we play the Boris with the enweb cost, we bounce the Brynhildr, Boris comes in with haste, and then we replay the Brynhildr that same turn, so that next turn, Chapter 2 triggers again and gives the first creature we play haste. In this way, we could do this every single turn, and whatever big enweb creature we're playing each turn is going to get haste, bouncing the Brynhildr, and then we just replay the Brynhildr so that next turn we're able to spit out haste again. And all the while, we're exiling a card every single time we do it so that we get card advantage as well. Everything about it just seems super awesome, and I absolutely love Brynhildr in this deck. We also have a lonely copy of Get Lost as a 5th piece of removal, just in case we really need to get rid of something problematic at instant speed. And then the lands, we're using 4 Multiversal Passages, which is probably the best new land that has come into Standard in a long time. It's essentially a 5-color pathway. It could be whatever color you want. It counts as the land type of that color, which is huge. And to top it off, you can have it enter untapped if you pay 2 life, otherwise it enters tapped, kind of like a shock land. It's like a pathway and a shock land smashed into one. The last card I want to talk about here is a lone copy of Through the Omen Path. I think this card has the potential to be insane, and it's probably going to be even better in other decks and not necessarily this one. Any deck that can go wide. But you can practically, sometimes, potentially convoke this out for free. If you have 8 creatures on the battlefield, this can literally come down for free. And then at the beginning of combat, every single one of your combats on your turn, you'll get to get your best creature from the top 5 and just put it into play for free, which is nuts. And if you're constantly enwebbing creatures back to your hand and replaying them, you're constantly generating tokens off of Eleni. It's actually really easy to get to the point where you can tap down a bunch of creatures that aren't super relevant to combat to convoke this out, still swing with the rest of your team, and be able to start triggering this and find your best creature in the top 5 every turn. I think it's really interesting in this deck and absolutely worth experimenting with, but I expect this card to be even crazier in other decks that are built around going literally as wide as possible with as many creatures as possible, and I think that's going to be exciting. But if you have other ideas about cards that would be great for an enweb deck like this, or you just have another way to build an enweb deck that I didn't think of, definitely let me know in the comments, because I think there is a ton of potential with the mechanic. And with all of that out of the way, let's check out the games. Every enweb card, and only 1 creature to bring back. Let's hope it works. I guess I'll try to keep it. It's a little bit worrisome, not gonna lie. Hello, Mana Man. Fly, Webby, fly. The Verge and the Pollinator. Alright, give me a 2-drop. Another Pollinator. How wonderful. Well, I guess that's that. Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves. And web. Cancel. Thank you. That was about to be very bad. We'll bounce, I guess you. And then we'll make a token. That seems fine. 3 other. Seems pretty good. We'll keep that. Alright, we're going wide. We're going pretty dang wide right now. Counterspell card in black that prevents your creature from exile and lands in graveyard instead. I don't know. Kona, Rescue Beastie. Tap the Kona. Tap, tap, taparoo. Give it a little tappy. Alright, I need to think. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. Four mana. We'll go green. We'll tap you. We'll play... It keeps wanting to do that. Oops. White, green, and web. Bounce you. Resolve, get another token. Play you. No, I don't think we do that. Cancel, play you. Put a counter on you. Make another token. Tap down you, and you. Keep that. Move to combat. Attack here and here. That seems pretty good. Alright, we did the convoking. We did all of the convoking. Weaver and the Guide. My kitty is happy. Look, she's so happy. She's purring. You can hear her. Cirrus is going to transform. Sure, with our. That's quacktastic. This is legendary, so we can't do a lot with it. we can go like this. How big is Withar? 5/5. Give it flying. And then we can go tap for white. Tap this guy. Play this. Oh, I screwed up. I needed to have a green left. Creature I control, eh? That's not where you go. He's got nothing in his hand, huh? Nothing in his hand. I've only seen creatures. I mean, I guess we say instant. Feels kind of bad. Tap, tap, tap. Get out of here. 4, 6. We would kill Surus, which is kind of nice. You know what? Cancel that. Let's keep those as blockers. We're going to swing here and here. He could kill Eleni, but he would lose Surus if he does it. Okay, he's going for it. I'm actually kind of okay with that. We will put the counters on, I guess, you. And then we'll add a flying counter. Seems pretty good. We're going to have to chump block a Wither. But he's kind of running out of gas, so I don't feel so bad about this. In fact, I think we can kind of just kill him next turn with this having flying. All of our Alessos. All of them. All of them. Crazy. It's 10 in the air. Alright, coming in. He's going to chump block the Warden. Take 4. And we're going to get another counter on this guy. We'll take a lifelink counter. We'll end the turn. What's cool is I could have webbed and returned the role model. Oh wait, no. It only puts its counters on something when it dies, not when it leaves. Ignore what I just said. We will offspring this. Put a counter on that. He does have some reach, but this is going to need to get a lot bigger. Well, we'll just force him to have to block the other thing, right? We don't want him to gain life by blocking with Wither. So we're not going to attack with anything on the ground. We're going to force him to chump block the Warden to stay alive. And that's pretty much it. We'll end the turn. I could have tapped down some more stuff to make him even bigger, but I feel like that's win more. I'd rather just be super sure he's not going to drop some crazy bomb that gives everything trample and +X or something. Alright, this looks pretty good. We're going to keep it. I think we start with Gene Pollinator to get access to mana on turn 2. So let's do that. We can play the 1-drop and then use it for mana to play the 2-drop. White. Reluctant Role Model. He does have a Ruzik on turn 2 though. That's really scary. Really, really scary. Torch the tower, my dude. We'll go green. We'll go white, tap this guy. Play this guy. Play this guy. That seems fine. That seems fine. He's like really out of gas because he's had to discard everything to Ruzik. I guess we're doing that. Magmatic Hellkite. It's one hell of a drug. I think we definitely have to play Shelter by Ghost. Unfortunately, we don't have double white. We don't have double white. So I don't think we can cast anything else, really. Yeah, that's really frustrating. Really unfortunate. Cat, get out there. I guess we gotta take this, right? It sucks he doesn't have to discard to Ruzik anymore. Cat, get out of there. You're being a pain in the ass. Alright, so we're gonna go white. Tap this guy. Play this. Bounce this. Play this. Put a counter here. And swing here. I don't know where that cat went, but she's being a pain in my butt. We'll let it through. Go ahead, make another Ruzik. white. Tap down you. Play you. Put a counter on you. Red. Tap down you. Play you. Put a counter on you. Swing here. And I think we've got the win. Alright. That worked out pretty well. This looks pretty good. We haven't seen this yet. We haven't seen this yet. We haven't seen this yet. We've got a Pollinator on one. I'm excited to see how this pans out. Alright, we'll start with, I guess, the Stomping Ground. And the Llanowar Elf, since we can use it for mana the next turn. It's a little bit better than the Gene Pollinator in this situation. Three mana. We are definitely going to do this. And then I think we just Lumen-Class Frigate and station with the Pollinator. Sephiroth. Well, we will sheltered. We will sheltered the Sephiroth for sure. And then we will station here to turn on the buff. And then we will put this in tapped. And we will swing for 3. Can he kill the Gene Pollinator? Okay, he can. Not super worried about that though. We still have Get Lost. Enters tapped. We'll do that. Pass the turn. Hold up the Get Lost. We kind of flooded out a bit and didn't draw nearly enough creatures. But it is what it is. Timeline color. Another Get Lost. Sure. Pass the turn. Oof. That is a big nasty. Alright. Lose a life. We take another 5 and go to 11. That's fine. We just need a little bit of gas. We are very close. We are very close. Very, very, very close. Color, map token, blood letter on top. That's not good. That's not good. We go to 5. He's clearly holding up 2 mana, or else he would have used the other map token. Scry 1. We'll do that. And we will attack and gain some life. I lied. We will gain no such thing. That's a bummer. End the turn. Dude just has everything he needs. 2 pieces of removal, 2 bloodletters. We go to 2. I don't know why he didn't play the bloodletter first. Oh, because he's got that guy. I guess that makes sense. I guess. No white mana. That's a little bit worrisome. But I guess we could Brynhildr and then Boris if we really needed to. I guess we try it. I guess we try it. Tapped Stomping Ground. Tapped Godless Shrine. Kinda weird. I guess we could have played Multiversal Passage for white instead. And dropped a role model. 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐳. Interesting. Web this sucker back to my hand. Oh, we could have given this thing haste. I forgot. It would still trigger even with Brynhildr not on the field. That would have been nuts. Pariah, huh? We can't be having that. White, pay 2. We'll go like this. Exile the actual 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐳. So the Chosen by Valgarvoth falls off. And we'll play out the Reluctant Role Model. So we can start building up counters on that maybe. Got him down to 9. We got lethal next turn. If he's not careful. Terminus of Return? Seam Rip, okay. Why didn't he hit the Sheltered by Ghosts? Oh, maybe that wouldn't have been enough. Maybe that wouldn't have been enough. Let me think for a second. I think we go... Sheltered. Hit the Seam Rip. Lumen-Class Frigate. Station with Reluctant Role Model. And then swing for 9. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. This looks pretty good. We'll keep it. We'll start with Hushwood Verge into Llanowar Elves. Bandit needs to go out. Alright, give me a minute, bud. This game shouldn't take that long. I believe we go Reluctant Role Model and a Gene Pollinator because we need access to a second white next turn for sure. Into the Floodmaw, sure, okay. I mean, that's a piece of removal gone, so I'm not super upset about that. Potentially 4 mana. Let's go green, white, Reluctant Role Model. White, tap the Reluctant Role Model. Play another Reluctant Role Model. And put a flying counter on this one. Let's see, potentially 4 mana. We want Eleni out for 3 if we can. So I think we go like this. White, tap the Warden. Bounce the Warden. Swing. Counter, counter. Just try to end this quick. Even that first flying counter might have been unnecessary. Man, he's not really doing much of anything, is he? Crazy. So we'll go Llanowar Elf. Make a token. Warden. Lumen-Class Frigate. Tap down the 2 tokens. Swing with everything. Very close. Counters. And then I guess we'll just like station up. 'Cause why not? Does he have a sweeper in mono blue? I doubt it. We need another 6 right now. And smash. That was pretty easy. He wasn't stuck on land, really. He had more land than us. He just didn't have any interaction, I guess? This looks pretty okay. We can make this work. Verge, Llanowar Elves. Verge, Llanowar Elves. How exciting. Verge. 3 drop? What are you doing, cat? Come on. Alright, go. Skit. Skit, scat, skadoodle. Black cat is a menace. You're not even black. Where was I? I guess we'll do this. I don't know why You flashed it in response. But I guess. Reality Fulcrum. Okay. Multiversal Passage for red. Pay 2 life. Attack. Alright, he's gonna block. That's fine. I guess we probably want to go... I mean... we can't cast both of our green things, can we? Oh well. So confused. How can this be played? Oh, it can't. It's just lighting up because, I guess? Sure. 5/4 trample for 2 seems good. Although in retrospect, I could have just played it for its hard cast cost. It would have been 1 less power toughness, right? What a girl wants, what a girl needs. What can we do here? I guess we can go and web, bounce this, name artifact, play out the elf again, swing with this, play you. Yeah, we should have played the Gene Pollinator first. If I had realized we were going to name artifact, that would have been the smart thing to do. Alright, we've got a Naya Fabled Sky Climber. And a Surus. It's a pretty big board. It's for 6. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, we can definitely just do this first. Through the Omen Path is on the battlefield. Another Boris. Ah, that's not a good hit. Could have been lots of good hits, but unfortunately there weren't any. Maybe next turn, if we're still alive. Pretty big if. Pretty big if. Dang. I don't think I can even block, can I? I guess I can do that. Get the counter on him. Oh, and then the 3 from 𝐒𝐏𝐻𝐈𝐋𝐄𝐑. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.